Hello and welcome to Geek at Play Studio tutorials. In this tutorials, let's look how we can set up lighting and also render option to create an image architectural buildings outside environment inside the city. So let's go ahead and load it buildings preset. So one thing what I'm going to do is use it models from Cornucopia. Again, when you will have this project file, you won't have these models inside. You have all presets. So if you wanted them, you can go ahead and purchase, or you can use your own any models. Again, this is I'm using just as an example the building. So let's go load it. Okay, I'm adjusting one building. Okay, let's go load it, maybe a couple more. Okay, this will be our corner just on the background. And just load it one more. Okay. I'm just putting them very roughly together. So let's go take main camera, move just slightly above. It's almost like we want to overview our buildings. So here's we have our buildings. Let's go take our sun and a couple things. I want just slightly adjust them. So we have it nice lighting on the buildings, but same time we keep it our shadows as placing. Okay, and you know what? Let's go on the ground and we'll just change to just any other material. I'm using the brick from some part, so it's look a little bit more even. Okay, let's go right now atmosphere. We go to atmosphere editor, and by the way, we are basing ours on default. So let me show you. We're basing our on the from physical on a default atmosphere. So if we go atmosphere editor now, let's modify a couple things. One, you know what? I want just a little bit slightly position pitch on our sun, and maybe 119. So just reposition so we have a little bit better view how the sun will look. Okay. Before we process, let's look render to screen. We'll say 640, and let's check a preview what we have at this point. A couple times, if we even render in final, you will notice we want to see textures. We lose some details, which actually you want to bring in your architectural render. So let's go back to our editor, and a couple things what I like to do. I like actually to use size and corona to 0, since won't have any extra yellowish kind of fill lights. So we'll go to the light, and in the light options, the just ambient occlusion will do very nice fill up with the ambient lights, and you don't need to go more. You could if you wanted, but in some cases it will increase time of rendering without give you very high result. So also on the ambient light, I like to say just pitch down with desaturated colors and move but few to the ambient light. We don't have any clouds. If you wanted, you could add, and sky and fog, all the settings I just left as default. Okay, if you want more depth without distortion, you can go ahead and reduce haze and foreground, which will give you a sharper image. Okay, let's go to nothing here in wind, and same default in a effect tab. So let's click OK now. The next things what I want to do, it is very important, even with this basic preset, it is going to and modify your render options. So again, we'll go ahead and we'll use user settings. By the way, in a project file, you can find I save this user presettings what we're using. So if you don't know, a couple of things for the architectural rendering, what you don't want to do, it is disable the blurring. So depth of field you disable, and the reason is why it is nice to see as real, but in many cases for the architectural I find out the sharper images give you more precise look on the background and foreground. So we'll disable depth of field as well as disable motion blurring, because we won't have it any of this point. Disable optimize volumetrical light and optimize last rendering. So all that we have it is just applying our materials, enable subrays and enable super sampling. Okay, next we go to advanced effect quality. We'll just go all the way up to highest the 100%. As well, we don't use it blends on this case, so I will just uncheck optimizing direct lighting for the plants and uncheck the other ones. So the other box is anti-aliasing, and you want to enable both object and texture. So we'll have a nice smooth line, but we go ahead and modify these settings. One thing what I want to do, it is if you have it on optimize, switch on symmetrical and also select sharp settings. In a subrays, I like to set 8 and 16, and you can experiment with these settings, as well as the enable the regular subpixel sampling and quality threshold put up to 90. On a texturing as well, I like go all the way to the crisp and set 412 and quality about 6260. Let's click OK on this one as well. Okay, so as when you can experiment more with your settings, see which one is better perform for you. Normally my goal is have a very sharp line for the architectural. I like to remove any soft shadows on other ones, and soft shadows will give you this kind of smoother and will produce a little bit fuzzy look on the edges. It's work very well for the forest, for the scenery, but when you require a little bit more drawing type look, there will be actually create worse look for you. So okay, we'll set on this one. And by the way, if you can check on your sun edit objects, and right here you can if you have it enabled soft shadow, just disable it. Also, if you find out you have a little bit too dark shadows in the corners and everything, the one way to modify, you can go inside here and just reduce the 80 70 around, so your shadows won't be too dark, too sharp. Okay, but again, the same ways we did it by, if you remember, I gone to our atmosphere editor, and inside the light, same way with light balance, we move a little bit more to the ambient, which will produce about same result. Okay, I think we're ready to render right now, so let's go ahead and render our image. I'm go ahead, pause, and we'll be back when image is finished rendering. Okay, here's our final image, and you can notice we have a very nice display of textures. Line is actually sharp and clear, as well as the shadows on a bag. You can see details through them, and they're not that hard, more realistic shadow. Thank you for watching this tutorial from Geek@Play Studio. Please come visit us on the web is www.geekatplay.com.